All right, guys, today we are going to do our very own still life inspired by Paul Cezanne. You're going to need a set of crayons or oil pastels. Markers will not really do a good job with this assignment. Colored pencils could work, but crayons or oil pastels are best. So in any good still life, you're going to be having your objects piled in front of you. And Paul Cezanne liked to do still lives of fruit. So we're going to create an apple, which is sort of like a heart shape, but not really. That has kind of a rounded top and a little bit of a wavy, lumpy bottom. And then we can put a stem, and if you like, you can also add a leaf coming out from behind your stem if you wish. There we go. There's our first apple. Now I'm going to put another apple off to the side of this one. And again, it's going to be something of a modified heart shape. This one's just a little bit smaller, so I think I'll make it a little bigger. There we go. Again, this is why we have erasers and start with pencil to get our proportions the way we want them to be. And there's my stem. Now I want to put one more apple behind these two, and I'd like it laying down. So I'm just going to draw my line coming out like that. Here's my stem, and then the bottom of my apple would just peek out from behind here. I can just adjust my lines as I see fit. Now I have 3 apples. I want to put them on the table. So I'm going to draw a horizontal line from one side to the other, and now it looks like they're on a surface. At this point, we can get right into our crayons. Now, as we learned with light source, depending on where the light is coming from, it is going to make those areas lighter or darker. So let's say we're going to make one yellow, one green, and one red apple. In my yellow, I need more than just yellow. I need orange or orange red for the low light. Okay, so I'm going to put those off to the side. We're going to start by adding lines of yellow to the top of the apple. We're going to pretend that our light source is coming straight from the top. So I'm going to start by layering yellow. I'm going to create some dashy lines in this, a lot like the Van Gogh work that we did. Now, I know that if the light's coming from here, it's going to get darker and darker as we go down. And sometimes I find that it's easiest to put my shadow down first. So I'm going to put some of those dashy lines in orange. And then the lighter orange above. See, I've got orange and red orange. And so I've used all of those colors. Next, I'm going to go back in with the yellow and do big sweepy lines, blending all of those colors. And lastly, if you have it, yellow or a white crayon is a magical thing. It can do a wonderful job of blending things together. So if I go over all of this with the the white crayon, then it creates this shiny look in my apple, and it blends all of those things together. I'm going to put a little bit more yellow up here. Ooh, I had some red in there. That's fine. If you get a little bit of color that comes up there, it's okay to put in some sketchy lines that make it look like apples. And you can even bring in a little bit of green in your yellow apple, and it'll look pretty awesome. There we go. Now we have our blended yellow apple. I'm going to take my black crayon and trace around my apple to finish it off. This is how we're being inspired by Paul Cezanne. This was a trick of his. I'm going to put a black stem on the top. All right. Next, I want to address my red apple. My red apple is going to have a highlight of yellow with a little bit of orange, and then of course the red. Now, if you have a pinky color like this dark pink, this makes a great shadow too. So let's say we're going to do our yellow lines. Even though this is a red apple, this is our highlight. So we're going to do some yellow lines followed by red. Let's get some of those red sketchy lines happening here. I'm going to make them a little closer together down at the bottom. And then again, I like to do my lowlights. I like to do my shadow first. So I'm going to put a little bit of this pinky color at the bottom, right on top of my red. And then I'm going to bring some orange into the middle. And then I'm going to go over the whole thing with red one more time. This is actually my red apple. It's okay at this point to start pushing kind of hard. And very soft up at the top, because remember, even though this is a red apple, we have a highlight. Once again, you can use that white over the top of everything to blend it together and give it that wonderful shiny look, if you have a white one. Or if you still want a little bit of a darker shadow, you can add some more pink down at the bottom. Layering is so much fun when you learn how to do it. Okay, now once again, I'm going to outline my beautiful, yummy red apple, which are my personal favorite, with the thick black line. Now, the last apple I have to do is my green apple. So I'm going to take my light green, my yellow for my highlight, my dark green, and believe it or not, I'm going to go with blue for my shadow. So let's start on the top with some yellow lines. Then I'm going to go right into my bright green and layer that bright green over the top. Take that all the way down, sketchy, sketchy lines. I'm going to add some darker green down here. Okay. And then, yep, you guessed it, in comes the blue. That makes a good shadow on my green. Now, once more, I'm bringing my white into it, but I'm going to clean that red off of my white crayon, or I'm going to get red onto my green. So I'm going to go over all those beautiful colors. Oop, I just got a little black in there. That's okay. If you go over any colors other than your green, you're going to bring them into your apple. If that happens, you can scratch them away with your nail. It's an old trick. And once more, we're going to outline that in a black crayon. I still need to do my leaf over here. Let's see. Light green. And trace around that. You can add leaves to the other ones if you want to. And a black line separating our table and our wall. Now here's where you can have fun. These are a slightly different take I took on this particular still life. You could do a stripy table with a polka dotted wall, or you could do a pattern of triangles, or anything you can imagine. So have a little fun with your table, but think of what colors would look good together. I think I'll use orange stripes this time. You can use any color you want. I'm going to do orange And let's see, what should I do for my second color? I think I'll do this wonderful tealy blue. So I'm going to color in my table. I'm making sure to get all of my areas and not leave any white behind. In a good still life, we don't want a lot of white paper. Almost done. Okay, now I need to decide what to do with my wall. I think I will go with green polka dots. I don't know, there's something about dots that make me happy. I think they're cheerful and silly. You can do any pattern you want on your wall, any color combination, but be thoughtful. When you do color in a background, you want it to make this stand out. So what would stand out really good? Probably yellow. And I'm just going to go right over the top of my green because my yellow cannot do too much to my green. Because we are layering, and that's all good. Make sure that you get color right up to your apples. But remember, if you go over that black, you're going to smear it. So if you need to, you can clean off your crayon too. Try not to get right on top of that black mark, but around it is good. I turn my paper quite a bit because I find it easier to do it that way. You don't have to turn your paper. Almost done. Okay, now one of the other secrets that I probably failed to mention in the beginning is I don't use a whole sheet of paper. Your teacher should have told you to use a half a sheet of paper because this is a lot more work with a full sheet. The last thing you need to do before you are done is sign your work down at the bottom. Artists always sign their work, and this is your Cezanne inspired still life showing highlights. Nice work, everybody.